So let's see if it starts recording. It started. Very good. Yes, thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Mataji. My obeisances to you. Jai Shriman Narayana.
Jai Jagannath. You want to introduce the subject?
Yes, Mataji, and this is an area that I've wanted to get some clarity on for quite some time. I think it's an area which creates some confusion, particularly for those of us based in the West, and it is the relationship of Buddha to Sanatana Dharma. What is the authentic relationship of Buddha to Sanatana Dharma? What is Buddhism, authentic Buddhism? Is it separate from Sanatana Dharma, or is it integrated within Sanatana Dharma? What are the authentic teachings of the Buddha, and perhaps how that differs from what we see today, particularly in the Western mainstream? I'm conscious that people in India might have a different perspective, but this perhaps is targeted for those of us who are brought up in the West, where we see a lot of Buddhist paraphernalia, where we see a lot of Buddhist symbols. There's lots of Buddhist centers, there's lots of Buddhist yoga, Buddhist retreats. And what we want to know here, Mataji, is what actually is the relationship of Buddha to Sanatana Dharma? Is it a separate religion? And also, Mataji, there's a viewpoint that the Buddhist philosophy, theology, doctrine, whatever you want to call it, is based in, is A, atheist, and B, the end point is nothingness, and it believes in nothingness. And these are ideas that I'd like your opinion on, and perhaps to clear any misconceptions. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Excellent, thanks, because this is also a very good opportunity for me, because I like to have some level of dialogue when we present this information. The information by itself can become a little boring if it is presented in a form of a monologue. So let's...
Yes, I agree, Mataji.
So as usual,
as long as you don't mind my absolutely juvenile assertions, assumptions.
Don't be excessively humble. Anyway, please, as usual, anytime, please interrupt me for any clarification, question, objection, whatever. Okay. So,
wonderful.
First of all, something that I consider very important is what I call the semantic hygiene. Means dictionary meaning. We need to understand very well what we are talking about when we present some definition. So when you are mentioning Sanatana Dharma, I think that many people will have some superimposition between Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism and Vedic culture, which is not exactly correct. Sanatana Dharma is, by definition, Sanatana means eternal, universal. It is the basic Dharma for all human beings. Eternally. Doesn't matter which culture you are born in, or you choose, or you follow, because these are the fundamental principles of reality. Dharma literally means that which sustains, that which supports. So Dharma is what supports the existence of something that we consider supportive for both the individual and society. So
I understand, Mataji. So what you're saying here is that Hinduism Hinduism is a human expression
Yes.
of sanatana dharma, which may or may not be congruent depending on the consciousness of the individuals or group practicing it.
Yeah, because Hinduism is very difficult to define for many people. And Hinduism is supposed to be the Vedic knowledge, but it's not. It's not exactly the same thing. Because Vedic knowledge is very scientific, while Hinduism is, as you correctly said, is a human expression of the principles of dharma and vidya. So it can be adapted to different situations, to desha kalapatra, place, time, and individual and persons, public, the type of audience we are talking to. So we have seen that Hinduism, the actual original Vedic Hinduism, is very open-minded also to include a lot of, we could say, tribal concepts, primitive concepts that are not exactly specified like that in the Vedic knowledge, in the Vedic culture. Vedic culture is basically the Varna Shrama Dharma, which is the Karma Kanda, the Jnana Kanda, which is the knowledge, the scriptures, basically the Vedanta Sutras, and Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, and the Upasana Kanda, which is the personal worship to the forms of the Brahman, which is Tantra, Agama, Bhakti, all these kind of things. This is the Upasana, basically, means worship. So Karma Kanda is about the rituals, the Vedic rituals that are performed by the higher classes of society to guide society towards into the cooperation with the devas. The Jnana Kanda is the knowledge of the both material and spiritual reality. And the Upasana Kanda is our own relationship with God. So it also includes yoga, yoga, bhakti, tantra, which we have said many times are one and the same. Now, so Hinduism is supposed to have all this and also adapt to various situations. Like, for example, we were mentioning in another meeting that Adi Shankara made a big revolution in the culture of India. So we could say that he's the actual founder of Hinduism, because he saw that the Brahmanas were not easily qualified anymore. So the society could not rely on the Brahmana system, Varna Ashram system. So he introduced the idea of the Mat, the idea of the Sampradaya, by which one actually realized Acharya establishes some specific teachings, and all the sub-teachers, assistant teachers, are working under the authority of the Acharya.
So there were no sampradayas prior to Adi Shankaracharya?
Nope.
What was it, Mataji? Were they individual individual acharyas?
Yeah. That was the direct relationship between Guru and Sisha. And as we have seen in many instances, someone could have many gurus and take many dikshas. actually in the okay, one sec. I'm going to come back. We have a doorbell. Grazie.
That's okay, Mataji.
Ok. Eccoci qua, grazie mille. Va bene, ah, può darsi, salve. Ok. Ok. Okay, no problem. Thanks for the patience. So,
No problem.
yeah, actually, in the Vedic system, we can see from the stories of the Puranas, Mahabharata, and so on, that there is one diksha for each yagya. Every time someone performs a yagya or a vrata or something, a diksha is required. So, for the Rajasuya yagya, Yudhishthira got a diksha. And in the diksha system, in the Vedic ritual, there are 4 brahmanas, of which one is the acharya, who is presiding the ceremonies and checking that everything is working properly. So someone could have many gurus and many dikshas, but every time, each time, the relationship between the guru and the disciple was extremely personal, was direct and very personal. Now, because in Kali Yuga, when Adi Shankara appeared, there was a big scarcity of gurus and brahmanas. And Siddhartha Gautama, who is the historical Buddha, had already addressed this problem. Because Buddha is the original idea of the sampradaya, of the mata, of the acharya.
Fascinating. Please, this is complete news to me, so
yes.
Please go on.
Yeah, this is a new perspective, but if you go and verify, you will find that is perfectly historical and perfectly confirmed by the Shastra. So Buddha, basically, he was more or less on the same level of Adi Shankara regarding realization and understanding and vision about what people needed. In fact, as you probably know, in the culture of Bengal, Orissa, and Northeast India especially, Buddha is considered one of the main 10 avatars of Vishnu. And because Jayadeva Gosvami, the famous Jayadeva Gosvami, with the Dasavatara Stotram, quotes Buddha. Keshavadrita Buddha Sarira. And also we find Buddha as an avatar of Vishnu in the Bhagavata Purana, at least in the version of Bhagavata Purana that we have today. So, similarly, Adi Shankara is also considered an avatar of Shiva.
Yes, I've heard.
Yeah, you heard that, yes.
That as well, Mataji. But I'm very fascinated to know from you, from what you've just said now about Buddha and the reform that you've just
because
described.
Basically what happened that Siddhartha Gautama saw that the original Vedic culture was going down the drain because there was a big scarcity, a serious scarcity of qualified brahmanas. And
Mataji, why was it going down the drain at the time?
Kali Yuga.
Why was it going downhill at the time?
Kali Yuga. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya. Why, Jayadeva Goswami very clearly said, Ninda se yagya vide ahahashruti jatam. The teachings of the Shruti had become so twisted and misinterpreted in an offensive way, ninda. In such an offensive way that they were used to slaughter animals, and supply meat to non-vegetarians. So that's Kali Yuga. That's serious Kali Yuga. Because as we see...
Oh.
Yeah. Done.
So, no, this is really fascinating. So, Siddhartha Gautama saw all this.
Yeah.
And I'd love to then know, so we've established that things were not great. We've established the current system was no longer fit for purpose.
Yeah,
so
it was not working. It was not working.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
So how, I mean, no one really understands, no one I know in my circle, okay, is aware of this. So please carry on.
That is, it's not difficult. You heard about Jayadeva Gosvami?
Yes, I'm aware of Jayadeva Gosvami.
So, let me find, there. So, I am going to find, yes, here. Vani quotes. Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. It's conversation and morning walks, but I am sure that there is a lot of other places. So he is quoting the verse 9 of the Dasavatara Stotra, as I just mentioned. Now let me see if we can find the entire Dasavatara. I have written the entire Dasavatara Stotra in my book Puri, the Home of Lord Jagannath. So the whole here category name, verse lines, and search. So you can go and check.
Okay.
But here it is. Okay, it's only this part. Anyway, so Nindasi Yagyavide Ahaha Shutijatam is clearly saying that due to compassion, okay, Siddhartha Gautama, due to compassion for the animals, and not only for the animals, but also for the people who are actually killing animals and making a very bad karma for themselves. Sadaya Hridaya Darshita Pasughatam. Here it is, Gita Govinda. Hridaya, the heart. Let me check the entire verse. Where it is. Here it is. Sadaya Hridaya Darshita Pasughatam. He was seeing that he became compassionate, seeing all these unqualified people killing animals in the name of the Shastra, in the name of the Vedic, Karma Kanda. Now, it's very important to understand that the Vedic yagyas were never intended to kill the animals, the ordinary animals. Because we can see, for example, in the Upanishad specifically, like the first Upanishad on the alphabetical order, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it starts by explaining that the yagya pashu, the animal of the yagya, like the Ashwamedha yagya and Gomedha yagya, Ashwamedha yagya is a time, is the Virat Purusha himself, is the form of the universe. and he's explaining that the four legs are the four directions, and these, the head is this, and that, So it's not an animal.
So in essence,
Yeah.
Siddhartha Gautama saw this completely illegal
Offensive
practices. So what did he do thereafter, Mataji?
Then he just started to preach to the general people. He said, don't worry about the devas, don't worry about the karma kanda, don't worry about the yagyas, you don't need to please the devas, you don't need to go for trying to understand what God is, how many gods they are, because that's not important. Don't even, think about, Swarga, going to heaven or hell or whatever. Don't worry about any of this.
And this was a reaction to stop this unadulterated sacrifice, basically.
Yeah, not only that, but the whole train of degradation by which the unqualified Brahmins were exploiting the general population with the promises of material benefits. Oh, this deva will give you this, and that planet will give you that. Worship this, you do this worship, you do this ritual, you do this, you do that. So people were very confused. Like today, they're doing the same thing.
Right. This makes complete sense. So what he said is, he put an end to the
don't
practice.
Worry about all this stuff, because everything is illusion.
So basically what he said, he wanted to turn off the tap at the mains, simply to stop the flood, in essence, basically.
Mataji. The material identifications, attachments and desires.
So what he did was he literally turned the tap off at the mains, and that's what he did. And in essence,
he said, you must have heard the definition of Four Noble Truths.
Yes, I've heard of that, yes.
Which is the very basis, the foundation of the teachings of the Buddha, which is the most important thing for the general people, because the general people are in anxiety and fear, and they want to propitiate the devas and God because they are suffering. Like Gita is saying, Gita Krishna says, Artha Jigyasu Artarti.
So Mataji, that now makes sense. So where did this notion, did the Buddha ever because what I'm trying to understand here is that I'm now understanding the foundation. What about the notion that Buddhists believe in no God? Did that stem from this?
That is stretching the idea. Actually, Buddha said, don't worry about God. From saying don't worry about God to saying there is no God is a very different thing.
Yes, now I understand. So has that teaching then been misinterpreted in later ages by people?
Definitely.
That makes sense, Mataji. But the other point, Mataji, is where did this idea of nothingness come from? When a lot of Buddhists have this end point of there being absolute nothingness. Is it
because
where did that come from, Mataji?
Yeah, it's denying the material identifications and attachments. It's rejecting the material identifications and attachments, not only of oneself, but also of the material world, of everything that is a part of the material world. We need to understand what is the meaning of illusion, what is the meaning of Maya. Because, people who don't have sufficient understanding, they imagine that Maya, illusion, means that something does not exist. That actually there is only nothingness. because nothing exists. So they can only contemplate the idea of nothing, nothingness.
So Mataji, the Buddha sort of preached that everything is an illusion, simply to put an end
everything
to these
material is illusion.
Is an illusion. Now, Mataji,
yeah.
Now I get that, but how does that differ from what we believe in, which is that the material satanasa, it's not an illusion, it's temporary.
Yeah, that's what Adi Shankar did. Because already in the times of Adi Shankar, the teachings of the Buddha, the original teachings of the Buddha had become, distorted. So Adi Shankar came back and said, okay, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya, okay, we know, but there is Brahma Satya. So that means that, okay, the material world is illusion, but there is something very real, which is Brahman. So I made an example, I think we were talking the other day about the concept of nirvana.
Yes.
So, the idea of nirvana, originally, we have to verify with the dictionary. Nirvana means without wind, without air. Okay, Vayu, Vata, right?
Yes.
Nirvana.
Yes.
No? Nirvana means without air, without wind. And that is the explanation in the Bhagavad Gita and in many other texts, especially in the Yoga Shastra. It is said that the mind is agitated. The mind is usually agitated by all the winds of material movements, desires, ideas, memories, feelings, emotions, and everything. So meditation means that we make the mind quiet. We stop the agitation of the wind. So the nirvana means the mind is quiet. There is no wind. It's not agitated by the wind. The consciousness is bright as a lamp that is burning without the wind, without being moved by the wind.
So that makes sense. So what?
But yes. Wait, let me finish. So the Buddhist interpretation is like, okay, you know what happens if you put a cup in a glass upside down on a candle. There is no more air. So the candle will stop. The light will stop, go out. So it's a different interpretation of the air and wind. But it's a different interpretation only for those who remain on the material level of consciousness. Because the light of the Atman, the light of the Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, doesn't need oxygen. It burns without the Vayu. It resplends.
That makes complete sense. But how is it then that? So you're saying that Siddhartha Gautama never intended to quote unquote create his own religion. It was only meant to exist within. It was only meant to be a reform of Hinduism.
No, it was not meant to be a reform of Hinduism. It was meant to be the basics of dharma. which I heard, probably you also heard the expression upadharma.
Okay, so what he basically never intended to create his own religion, and what he wanted to do was it was an emergency situation, as Srila Prabhupada said, and he, as he used to use the word Srila Prabhupada, emergency situation, and therefore he had to put
but Prabhupada also used the definition upadharma specifically for Buddhism. Upadharma means a little, almost dharma. The basics of dharma, the primitive, the primary school dharma.
So Mataji, with that in mind, how did it become so popular and create its own offshoot, which in many respects...
with time, Sakamaneha Mahata. So the idea is like, just like you see Christianity. Jesus had absolutely no intention of starting Christianity. Jesus was not a Christian, Jesus was a Jew. He was a messianic, apocalyptic Jew. There is some controversy because there is no official evidence, but it looks like he was from a particular perspective or school or branch of Judaism that some people call Essenes, some people call Zealots, some people call Nazarites, Nazarene, and we find the information about these people in the Qumran texts, not in the Dead Sea Scrolls, not in the Nag Hammadi. The Nag Hammadi is a totally different group. But the Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls, were found, and they are a little bit before Jesus. They were written a little bit, about 50 or 100 years before Jesus. And Jesus belonged to that, we can say community, we can say group, we can say perspective, darshana, whatever you want to call it. So the same thing happened with Buddha and, specifically Buddha's followers.
Okay, so Mataji, my next question therefore is, in 2025/2026, or whatever, it doesn't have to be this year, it can be any year, how do we see the Buddha? Do we see Buddha as somebody who exists, or the Buddhist teachings, the original teachings of the Buddha, as something that exists within the framework of Hinduism? It was never meant to
within the framework of sanatana dharma.
Yeah, within the framework of sanatana dharma.
Similar to Hinduism. It's not Hinduism, because this is a mistake that many Hindus make. They insist that Buddhism is Hinduism. It's not. And especially Buddhist people are going to get very, angry about that. And you heard, I think you heard about Ambedkar, Bhimrao Ambedkar.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard. Whatever. Yeah.
And he actually started a big movement of people who didn't like what Hinduism had become in the colonial times. So he made a big show of rejecting Hinduism and becoming Buddhist.
Right.
But in an offensive way.
Yeah, to taking all these politics aside, taking these political figures aside, we should regard Buddhism as within the framework of sanatana dharma, given everything that you've said.
Well, yeah, the original Buddhism, yeah. But, Buddha didn't give so many teachings. He gave some very important speeches, like the Heart Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, the Triptaka. There is something. We should go to the most original source.
And what are those sources, Mataji?
Yeah, we can find out. There are, but basically the Four Noble Truths, they are the most important thing. You speak with any actual knowledgeable Buddhist teacher, not the, self-appointed scholars who just had second-hand information or third-hand, or they heard, they imagined something.
But Mataji, again, from a crude point of view, what you're saying is that Siddhartha Gautama always believed in the existence of a Brahman, supreme consciousness. He never denied that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key here. That's the key.
Yeah.
And he always believed in that, and he believed in Atman realization. But because this was done so badly, he wanted to
not because it was done so badly, because he realized that the people he was talking to were not able to understand. Because
I understand.
Some people, like Krishna himself is saying in Gita, in the beginning he's talking about the Atman, and he says some people hear about the Atman and they find it wonderful. Some people talk about it, and some people even after listening and they still cannot understand. Because it's not easy. The Atman Brahman realization requires a very open mind. Requires a certain level of intelligence.
Are you suggesting, therefore, that what Buddhists actually believe in is the process ends in Atman realization, according to them?
No. It stops before the Atman realization.
Please carry on. I'd love to hear this. Please carry on.
It stops at the neti process. The Upanishads, they say, the Brahman is not white, is not red, is not black, not here, not there, is not big, is not small. So the neti means removing the material misconceptions, the material identifications, the material definitions.
So now I get it. So what you're saying is, it stops at the first stage, an earlier stage of the process that is necessary to achieve Atman realization. The train stops midway.
Because the purpose,
it's not even reached the first stage.
The purpose is to stop the suffering. And the suffering is created by material identifications and attachments, a bad karma. So, Buddha stopped there. But he was talking about the jewel in the lotus. What is a jewel in the lotus? It's something that actually exists, which is the Atman, which is the Brahman, Paramatma.
So my next point is, can you now explain the reason for Adi Shankaracharya coming along? Not the reason, but in the sense, he saw that this was being this mindset. Can you tell me the necessity for Adi Shankaracharya's work?
Yeah, because after a number of centuries of people misunderstanding the purpose of Buddha, they had become offensive towards the Vedic knowledge. So Adi Shankara, did his work to re-establish the authority of the Vedic knowledge from a Buddhist perspective. So Adi Shankar didn't give the primary importance to the Karma Kanda. Because he could see, yeah, well, where are the Brahmanas, okay. Forget about all the yagyas. Just study the Vedanta, study the Gita, study the Upanishads. Understand what is Atman Brahman, which is the next step. The first step, you're not the body, you're not the mind. Everything material is illusion, and if you identify and you remain attached to the body and the mind, if you remain attached to the material existence, you're going to suffer, so you have to pull the plug. You have to stop identifying and being attached to material existence. And then the next step is, okay, I'm not the material body and mind. What am I? I am Atman Brahman. That was, the next step Adi Shankara proposed. But at the same time, Adi Shankara showed very clearly that he was not against the Upasana Kanda. He was not against the temples, the deities, the bhakti and the yoga and the tantra, or even the yagyas. He didn't condemn them. He said, okay, yeah, well, maybe not so important. If someone wants to do, like for example in Puri, it's the Shankaracharya Math that trains the pujaris in the temple, in the Jagannath temple. The trains, gives the endorsement, the approval if someone, from a Brahmana background can actually become a pujari in the Jagannath temple. So Adi Shankara put the emphasis on the theology and philosophy. Buddha only spoke about philosophy, not theology.
Because my crude understanding, Mataji, is that Adi Shankaracharya brought the people back to that there are steps beyond simply detaching yourself from the material.
It didn't bring the people back. It brought people forward.
Sorry, back meaning back to their original...
Yeah, to the original Vedic knowledge, yes.
Yes.
But, we have to understand what we mean by Vedic knowledge. Most people think that Vedic knowledge means rituals to the devas. But the devas are also material. Svarga is material. Pitriloka is material.
But Mataji, let's say that I'm some person and I first of all listen to Adi Shankara, I listen to the Buddha, and I believe that the process ends with the material detachment and thinking it's an illusion. But then Adi Shankaracharya comes along and says, well, actually, it's more than that, son.
Exactly. So go forward, not go backward.
Yeah. It's more than that, son.
Yeah.
It's Atman realization.
Exactly.
And you know what, son? There's something even beyond that, and that's a supreme consciousness.
Exactly.
That's Brahman.
Exactly.
So Adi Shankaracharya evolves my thinking to the next stage after that. That's what Adi Shankaracharya wanted to sort of do.
Yeah.
Am I right there, Mata?
Yeah, exactly. You're perfectly right. You're correct. And is why...
And then Ramanuja comes along and says, well, actually, you can do bhakti in this age.
No, wait. No. That was already in Adi Shankara's presentation.
Right, okay.
Because you must have heard the Bhaja Govindan song.
Yes.
You must have heard the Gita Mahatmya.
Yes.
By Adi Shankara.
Yes.
You must have heard about the Jagannathashtaka.
Yes.
So how is that not presenting bhakti?
No, I guess my point is that Ramanuja called it bhakti at that time.
Ramanuja didn't call it bhakti. Ramanuja focused on Vishnu Bhagavan only. he dropped most of the philosophy and theology. And he just said, okay, you just worship Vishnu.
And is that because the consciousness of the people had changed? So,
yeah, because not many people were able, again, even with the help of Adi Shankara and his Sampradaya, still many people were not able to understand what is Atman, what is Brahman. So basically, just by practicing a basic level of bhakti, as you were saying, you know, just the bhakti, not, you know, the rest is not so important, just, you know, don't worry about that. And then, again, Krishna Chaitanya even went beyond that and said, okay, forget about bhakti, forget about the Pancharatra system, because Ramanuja is very much about the Pancharatra system. Very much about the Upasana Kanda. Very much about the temple worship.
Somehow, the emphasis on Ramanuja and Pancharatra seems to have been conveniently omitted.
Krishna Chaitanya said, forget the Pancharatra, forget the Upasana Kanda, just chant the names of God. Bas, don't do anything else.
Because again, the consciousness of the populace had changed even further by that point, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So
the general mentality of the people, you know, found difficult even, you know, the presentation of Ramanuja.
So, Mataji, my next question, perhaps my final question, is what is the Buddha? There is debate. Was the Buddha an avatara or not? Or is it black and white? I'd love to know your opinion, because there's different viewpoints on this.
Okay.
I would love to know, was the Buddha an avatar?
I understand. Yeah. Again, the point is what you mean by avatar. Now, many people think avatar means reincarnation in a linear, limited manifestation of the same person that takes different bodies. Now, one expression that I find extremely fascinating in Bhaktivedanta Swami's presentations is when he was talking and writing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the avatar system is not linear. God has many personalities. They don't need to reincarnate, because they don't reincarnate. Each and every Swamsa avatar contains all the Swamsa avatar, contains all the Vishnu.
So Yoga Maya simply unveils them to us. Is that right, basically?
Exactly. Yoga Maya is the illusion that makes us think that, for example, Krishna has a beginning and an end. You know, the body of Krishna is, okay, Vrindavan, you know, this color, this dress, blah, blah, these activities. You know. But actually, Krishna showed very easily, very clearly, that he's the whole thing. The entire existence. The Bhagavad Gita is explaining very clearly. Bhagavata Purana, I don't know if you remember, we were reading the 10th canto of the Bhagavata Purana, Krishna and the Gopis. Actually, we were reading in Italian. Yeah, I remember that. You know,
sorry, Mataji. I missed that one.
Yeah. And, you know, we can see in the whole description of the original text of the 10th canto of the Bhagavata Purana that the Gopis were perfectly aware that Krishna is Vishnu. So there is no difference. It's not Vishnu as an individual who reincarnates as Krishna. Vishnu is everything. It's the entire existence.
So here, this wrangling between various authorities that, oh no, you can't include the Buddha as one of the
Oh, that's
avatars.
stupid.
And some people say
No. That, you know, and then they put Jesus Christ and Muhammad in the
yes.
Seriously.
Absolutely. So now I understand that point. So Mataji, to round off this wonderful discussion, I have one final question.
Yeah.
For the average Hindu born today or raised today, living anywhere, whether it's your Italian followers or whether it's Indian followers, how should we view the Buddha, Mataji? If you were to sum it up in a nutshell, what would you say?
We can read in the Bhagavata Purana, as we can, you know, as explained by Jayadeva. Jayadeva is giving a very nice explanation. But the Bhagavata Purana is a recognized Briti. It's a very, very popular Purana. And,
Yes.
you know, Bhagavata Purana talks about Buddha as an avatar.
Absolutely.
Vishnu, yeah.
So he is an avatar of
Yeah.
Siddhartha Gautama was an avatar
Yeah.
of Vishnu, in
Yeah.
effect, basically.
You know, but it's not that, you know, we are not like the institutionalized Christians who have a dogma that you have to recite, you know, the profession of faith. You know, I believe that Buddha is an avatar of Vishnu. We don't have that. You know, if you don't want to contemplate the Buddha as an avatar of Vishnu, that's your choice. It's not important. We are not. We don't want to establish a catechism. You know, you don't want to accept what the Bhagavata Purana says. Okay, you know, not a problem. We are happy with the Gita, sufficient. Everybody is happy with the Gita, I hope. You know?
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
You know, sufficient.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it is common knowledge that the avatars are innumerable. Like the waves of the ocean. It's common knowledge. There's not a fixed number. And who decides who's an avatar, who's not? Come on, serious. Who's the Pope?
Well, I mean, my only reason for asking this is there are Purna avatars and non-Purna avatars. Where does that come from?
The definition that I find particularly useful is Swamsa, Vibhinamsa, and Shaktivish. Which is...
Please explain this.
Yeah, a definition that is given by, I think, Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is talking about the avatars. Swamsa means direct, complete or Purna manifestations. The Vibhinamsa are, in a sense, more limited. The devas are Vibhinamsa avatars. We are Vibhinamsa avatars.
So, personalities of Godhead, but limited in essence.
Yeah, personality of God, and you know, God can manifest in different, in unlimited personalities, and you know, because God is consciousness. So consciousness can manifest in innumerable numbers and in different degrees.
So Mataji, Rupa Goswami mentioned, so please just reiterate those two forms for us, just for me and for listeners, because I've never heard of this before.
Means his own body.
Right.
Vibhinamsa means separate amsa.
Right. Okay.
So the entire body or separate parts of which are parts of the body.
Wonderful. So it can either the avatar can either descend as a complete, as his whole, as his or her, as the whole body.
Can manifest. Yes.
Can manifest. It can manifest either as the whole body.
Yeah.
what does that mean, Mataji? Does that mean the entirety of the avatara is spiritual and is Vishnu? Is that what it means, Mataji?
No. It's not the entirety of the avatar. It's the entirety of Vishnu that manifests in the avatar.
Right, yes, now I understand. It's the entirety of Vishnu. That's what a Purna avatara is, basically. Mataji.
Complete.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Like Narasimha is a Purna avatar.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have this invocation to a number of Upanishads that said, Am Purnama Daha Purnamidam. Purna Mudachate. You know, it's when we are talking about transcendence, you know, it's improper to put limitations. So that's why I would say so-called limited. You know, because it's not exactly limited, because at any time it can manifest everything. That is the meaning of Shakti Avesha. You know, so at any time a Vibhinamsa can manifest, you know, the divinity, the complete divinity, because Vishnu is in the heart of every living being, of every jiva.
And Mataji, can you then explain to us the other form of avatar, the partial avatar or whatever? Right? That's what I've just used now.
Amsa and Vibhinamsa. Yeah. What did you say?
So what? I call that partial. I don't know. I just use that very crude word. Yeah. You know what does that? What's the the difference there is that we are also therefore partial avatars.
Yeah,
you've mentioned the devas and
we need to understand that God is consciousness. The consciousness, the jiva, the jivatma, the atman as consciousness is limited in the sense that it's not infinite in the sense of the entire existence. It's infinite because it's transcendental. It's not limited by material limitations, but at the same time, the quantity, it's difficult to understand. That's why it's called Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. It's at the same time, inconceivably, the same and distinct, different.
Yes. So Mataji, the Buddha, which classification is Gautama Buddha in those two, basically?
We can say it's a Vibhinamsa avatar, but I don't know. It's not important.
But to be honest, Mataji, this is my whole point. It isn't important, is it? Because
exactly,
these debates are semantic. These debates are semantic.
I mean, it's like the Professor Frog. How big is the ocean?
Yes. Yeah.
10 times.
These debates are semantic. Yeah. It's more what he did.
Exactly.
It's more what he did. That's not whether he fell into one category or the other, isn't it? Basically, Mataji?
Exactly.
That's the key here. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Mataji, are there any other areas that you feel we've missed in this discussion relating to Siddhartha Gautama, or do you
Siddhartha Gautama, we could go into the Mahayana, Hinayana, Vajrayana, but I think we can discuss that another time.
Wonderful, Mataji. I'd like to thank you for this wonderful discussion, which has really cleared up a lot. I think it's cleared up a lot because it started from a place of complete ignorance on my part, and it's now gone, as you've discovered in the last 1 hour, and it's now gone to a point where we've even started to talk about the avataras and perhaps the semantics behind it, and what a fruitless exercise it is to categorize, to lump people into one or the other when God when God is consciousness. That's the whole point. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. So
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for this wonderful discussion on a very important topic, Mataji.
Thank you
Thank
for
you. I
the
send my
opportunity.
appreciation.
We talk again.
Thank you.
Jai Shriman
Thank you.
Narayan.
Jai Shriman Narayana.
Jai
Jai
Shri.
Shriman Narayana. Thank you.